Well, aloha. I'd like to welcome you to a brief screencast on unstacking data. Basically, we're going to talk about how to take our data that might be grouped together by a categorical variable and split it up into groups according to that categorical variable. So before, of course, we talk about how to do this, we need to know the difference between stacked and unstacked data. It's pretty simple, actually. Let's say, for example, that we have some data on home prices here, where you look at the prices that a home would sell for, and we might have the style of the home. So this is a categorical variable, and we don't know, it doesn't matter whether the data that we're looking at that we want to unstack is categorical or numerical. But the important part is that each price is associated with a particular style. So this is a two-story, the price for the two-story that was sold. This is a tri-level. This is a two-story again. This is a ranch. So this data is stacked up because it's all put together into a single column. That doesn't make it particularly convenient for comparing the differences between two-story, tri-level, and ranch homes. So we might want to unstack the data to take a look at how they might compare and how they are different. So to unstack it, what we would do is split all the prices for two-story and group them together, and all the prices to tri-level and all the prices for ranch, and split them up into multiple columns like this. So here's the prices for all the two-stories, tri-levels, and ranch. So that's the only difference between stacked and unstacked data. It's the same data, except for instead of all the prices in one column, I took all the prices and split them up into multiple columns according to a categorical variable that I'm interested in, which defines the groups called style. So how do you do this? Let's start by showing you how to do this manually, and then doing it with phstat, maybe trying a pivot table, and then using a data table and some formulas. There's lots of different ways to do this. You should probably just find whichever is most convenient and not as error prone for you. So let's take a look here at some data. Let's go get some data here. Looking at okay, here's some data on homes. Same data that we were looking at before, just more of it. And you can see that we have our price variable here, and let's say we want to unstack it by looking at the different styles. So the first thing you want to do with this data is you want to sort it. And you want to sort it by the grouping variable that you're thinking of unstacking it by. So in this case, we want to sort it by style. Now we can't just sort this one column. We have to sort all these columns here. We need to keep everything together because these data are related in that this is all the stuff for home 1, that's home 2, home 3. So we don't want to mix them up. We can't just hit the sort thing here because this will just sort the first column here, which is just the home number. We don't want that. What we do want is a custom sort. And we can pick the column that we want to sort by, say, style, which is going to group this into different ones. It doesn't matter whether you do it from A to Z, Z to A. So now you can see why they call it stacked data. We have all our prices here for the ranches, and they're all sorted together. And then the tri-level stacked on top of that. And then stacked on top of tri-level, we have two-story. So to manually unstack it, all we need to do is grab all the styles for the prices for each style. So let's start with the ranch one. So we just go take all the prices for ranch, and I like to go over here just to make sure I get the right thing here because it's very easy to make a mistake when you do it this way. You end at ranch, and then you can paste it over here, and the label here is going to be ranch. So this is the prices for ranch. And now the next ones are tri-level, so I just go all the way here from tri-level till it changes from tri-level to two-story. Copy that. Type in tri-level. And the next one and the last one is two-story. You can see it's not particularly convenient, especially if I have a lot of groups. And it's very easy to miss something and make a mistake. There. And there you have it, unstacked data. But again, it's not particularly convenient and it's easy to make a mistake. So let's try using phstat. Phstat has a nice utility for unstacking and stacking data. You just go to phstat and data preparation. It'll look a little different if you're using a PC, but you'll find it. And see, you have stack and unstack data. So I want to unstack the data. And it says grouping variable cell and the stacked variable cell. So the grouping variable cell is going to be the categorical variable that provides the groups. That is going to be style, and you don't have to have them sorted like I have here. Won't make a difference. Not going to hurt it though. And then the stacked data cell range is going to be price, because that's what I want to unstack. And the first cell in both ranges contain a label, price, style. Hit OK. And there you have it. See, created a new tab called Unstacked, and it has the unstacked data just like we had before. Yet another way you might try to do this is using a pivot table, but you got to be careful because there's actually something special about pivot tables that you do need to be aware of that may mess you up. So let's take this data and we're going to insert a pivot table. So I'm going to insert a pivot table. So you can just click in the middle here if you want and see if it figures out what you want, or you can select all the columns you want. But I'm just going to click on here and see if it can figure it out. Create a pivot table. And now I have a pivot table here. And what I want is, it said baths and bed and all that stuff. I don't want any of that. I'll get rid of that. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to take the price and I want to unstack it by the style. So you can take style here and you can drag it down to rows, or you can drag it down to columns, and you see how it has each price, two-story, price, try-low, price. So if we take the price and style and we switch them, you'll see that it sort of unstacks it. You see there's all the ranches, there's all the tri-levels, there's all the two-stories. And of course what you can do is you can just copy these, right? And you can paste them into a separate sheet if you want. But I'm not going to do that. Let's take a look at why that might be a problem. So it looks pretty good, but the problem is that pivot tables only summarize unique values. So it does look like it unstacked it, but each one of these will be unique. In other words, you'll never have a duplicate price here. The problem is if I have a duplicate price, it's perfectly possible that a selling price for a home would be the same from one ranch to another. It could, maybe they're both $294,000. The problem is that the pivot table will only show one of them, and you actually want to show multiple ones, because that's data. So we're actually potentially losing data when there is duplicate prices here. The prices aren't really duplicate, they just happen to be the same, but it's still data nonetheless. So here, like so, get rid of that, and change this so that you're getting the count. And this will tell you how many are there of $276,000, how many 279.9, how many 285, and you can see that we do have some duplicates, and that these are not going to be showing up. Another way to look at this is, you see I have on ranch, I have 44 here. It has 44 there, but there's two 279.9s. But if I count how many I have here, see it says 38R, means there's 38 rows. So I only have 38 unique data points here, but there's actually 44. So I'd actually be losing data, which could skew my results. You have to be careful. So pivot tables are not necessarily a good way to go, especially if you have values that could be the same. And that's very common, so you have to be very careful. There are ways to handle this, but it's not particularly convenient. So let's try another way without using phstat. Going to our data again. So how could we split this up? One way to do this is to use a formula. So we could say ranch, tri-level, and two-story. Now what I want is I want to make these exactly the same as the values in the style here. And then what I'm going to do is just use a simple if. I'm going to say if the value for style equals whatever is above here. If it is, then I want to put the price there. Otherwise, I want to put a blank. Okay, so that's what this is doing here. There's a little bit of a thing that you need to take care of here, but you can see what I'm doing. I'll make that a little larger so you can see it better. That if the, again, if the style is equal to the label up here, then give me the value for price. Otherwise, put nothing there. Now what we're going to want to do is change the style here. We want to make sure that it still stays in column I no matter what we do. But we're going to let the rows change because we're going to duplicate this. And then similarly here, we want this to be column N. This one needs to be always 1 because we're going to make the label correct. And then we want to make sure we're always getting column B. So I'm putting the dollar signs here to make sure that when I duplicate this, these things don't change. I'll show you what I mean by that. So when I double click on this, you see how all these values show up, and you can see these are all the ranches. As soon as it goes to tri-level, they're gone. And the dollar signs there make it possible. So if I just slide over here like this, you see how this changed to O, but the I's and the B's stayed the same because I wanted it to be just put things in tri-level or two-story. So I only wanted that to change, and I still wanted that 1, but I wanted those to change based on the rows. So if I take these now like so, and I double click here like that, you'll see that now I have all the unstacked data. So I can take this data here like so, I can copy it, and then I can paste it here special with just the values. Make this a little bigger to see, and I can delete the empty cells. Shift cells up if I want. There's an automatic way to do this too, but this isn't that inconvenient. And there you have it. There are again other ways to do this too, but these are just some ways to unstack the data. Choose the way that's easiest for you. Be sure that however you do it, that you're careful not to introduce more mistakes.